I'm Erin Lawler Patterson, the Goodness Chick. I'm an international speaker, podcaster, counselor, author, and proud part of the Mental Health News Radio Network. Join me on the journey of empowering you to live life with an overflowing cup rather than an empty one. We look at mental health, self-care, addiction, relationship, and wellness, where we use our challenges to fuel us rather than consume us.
Dun, 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 dun. You are not listening to Indiana Jones, although Harrison Ford is super amazing. Instead, on today's Goodness Chick podcast, talking about conversations for good, listening and learning from our neighbors around the world, which pretty much is kind of an Indiana Jones, if you will, just with a whole lot of kindness and goodness sprinkled in. And with that being 10-month journey around the world. My book is out this Thursday. I'm really excited. And I thought, what better way to kind of not only kick this off, but to kind of provide some like insider scoop to the 10 months around the world. And this is where I have my husband, Keith Patterson, joining me today.
Hello.
So Keith, you are here. I want to say welcome.
Thanks.
So I'm going to tell you this. Actually, I'm laughing because this is now our third or fourth time trying to kind of have everything perfect with videotaping. And as we're doing this, and Keith was in the other room, audio wasn't working properly with his laptop. It just kind of had me kind of reminiscing to when we were overseas and just how many things did not go as we intended. And I'm going to kind of jump right into that. So we started off, both of us were working in the same school district. You made a decision to retire early to stay home with our son,
Yes.
little Jackie boy. And then not too long after that, I made the decision to resign from my position, a different school in our school district. And for both of us, at that point, what are we married 8 years at that point? Something 7.5 years. And we had both on our bucket list we wanted to go around the world. And I know a lot of people say, well, I want to go around the world before I die. But I'm so grateful that God matched me with somebody who literally wanted to go around the world. And we made that decision. So and it's a decision that's different to go from talk to action. So I want to kind of ask you, before we left, like literally like leaving, we talked about it. We even had tickets in hand. Was there at any point you were kind of nervous or anxious about what was next? I mean,
I don't think I was anxious at that point. Like originally we thought we weren't coming back. Like we were going to just live around the world like digital nomads forever. And that we would only come back like to see the kids and to see the family and stuff like that. But so no, not at that point. I wasn't.
Okay.
Later on.
Sorry. When later on?
Well, when different things happened, like air flights got canceled and
how about
wars
coups,
happened.
right? Remember,
Yeah.
I'm going to, and that's where I was thinking when we were having trouble with our videotaping this whole thing. I was like, wait a second, that's so kind of perfect timing. So many things that we had planned didn't go as planned.
Right.
I mean, we were supposed to go to Sri Lanka, which I was like,
Right.
I want to go to Sri Lanka. The surf's awesome. It seems like a phenomenal country. And you're like, hey, hon, there's a coup.
Yeah. And that wasn't the only thing. Like when we were in Jerusalem and Palestine for Christmas, there was all kinds of problems with the border fence, remember?
Yeah.
Like that was those couple of weeks when they were constantly having problems with the border fence, and that's where we were.
And I think, connecting this a little bit in terms of with our own lives, that sometimes we can create unnecessary anxiety thinking that everything must go as planned. Everything. And I think that's one of the biggest things I learned being overseas was trying to learn how to roll with the punches a little bit better, and always being safe, of course, but things happen. Like it's learning how to kind of grow those experiences instead of kind of like, you know what, this stinks. This is like, of course this happened, kind of that negative thinking. I mean, I'm actually flashing right now to when, and this is in the book, we were on that overnight train, the first overnight train, and we had these visions of like, we're going to see the mountains when we wake up and going through the hillside. And we ended up, it was like 92 degrees in our cabin with another woman and her son when there was only four bunks, right? And we actually bought an extra bunk, and she didn't want to open a window, and it was like I thought I was super going to die, and it was like instead of us kind of being like this is the worst trip ever, you know.
Yeah. Plus, that train looked like it was something out of like 1930 after a war.
Yeah. There's no air in your core. There's no air in
Remember
your
when we were joking? We were like, "What if that's our train?" And it was
our train.
It looked like a museum.
It literally had. Oh, they were all actually really nice carts until the very, very end, and it was tagged with graffiti. And I think you would say, like, "That's our train," and I was like. Oh no! Like literally looked super sketchy. It was the only cart without air conditioning, and it was 11. Was it 11-hour, 12-hour overnight?
Yeah, overnight.
So
from Budapest to Serbia.
Yeah. So that's it's sometimes, and I know I'm the goodness chick. It's easier to say think positive because I remember getting on the train and sweating, and there's like people hanging out of the windows, and it's full. And we're schlepping our 2 book bags with Jack behind it. I'm like, this is insane. But it was trying to, at the same time, thinking positive. And it's learning, I don't know about you, but learning how to laugh through situations.
Oh, yeah.
What to you that you kind of think back a little bit and say, that was insane, but it was worth it?
Oh, besides that one?
Crazy train people.
Remember when we went up to the top of the mountain in Brasov, and then the guidebook said it was an easy hike on the way down?
Oh my gosh.
And
that's Romania.
And we had a stroller.
Okay, set this up for the people listening here, actually.
So we're up at the top, and we have a stroller with, our little boy, and we're going down this trail that says it's an easy hike down. And we're like rolling down the hill in mud.
Yeah.
And
branches. And it was seriously Indiana Jones, like
it was
.com, .net.
Yeah.
I mean, you were ahead of me, and like there's a stone path that just began to disappear, and it was like a mudslide.
Yeah. And if Bridget hadn't given us that stroller, we would
Bauer shout out.
Without the Jeep stroller, we would have never survived.
Jeep, that everything comes down to a Jeep. Jeep is goodness. You were sliding. I mean, I remember your pants afterwards. I was sliding. We were like, let's stay calm for the child. And it was like, there were points that we were like going over trees and stuff. And I'm thinking, we're going to die.
Yeah.
So that was actually character building moments. So these are just a few experiences and kind of roping this in a little bit because I've had people say, I want to travel. And obviously during COVID right now, that's not a possibility, but this is not going to go on forever. And I believe this is something I know we have in common, how travel just kind of makes you a better person. And one of the things that we were able to kind of incorporate was like, me doing some volunteer work. But I want to ask you in terms of maybe what you gained from this in the sense of community. I know there were a few places we really connected with people. Like I'll think of Miss Mary in Brasov, Romania, that we had. And then who else? I'm thinking, that we just, Romeo in Montenegro and
brother in Nepal.
Oh, in Nepal. Like, did your interpretation or outlook when it came to community and connection with people, did it change at all in terms of its importance?
Well, I think it reiterates that, life is not life. Everyone doesn't experience life like we do in America. And, and we take a lot of things for granted, liberty and freedom and those aren't hollow words when you go someplace where there was a huge earthquake in 2015 and they still have brown water coming out of their pipes and piles of trash all over the place and 1,000 wires going down the street.
Do you outside? We were on Tamal Street in Kathmandu, and if you stepped outside of our hotel, it was a very nice hotel, but those hundreds of wires, that like every day there were guys up there kind of trying to put things together, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, if anything fell on the wall, I mean, it could be a tragedy, but rubble everywhere. And the first night that we were at the hotel, And we did stay at a hotel for a reason. I know we were initially going to do Airbnb, and we were kind of concerned with sanitation and everything. And I give my son a bath every single night. And without hesitation, right, I started running the bath, and it was yellow. It was yellow brown. And for 6 weeks, I didn't give Jack a tub. It was literally water bottles and baby wipes. But meaning, and Nepal is a spectacular, beautiful, rich, amazing people country. But it's laden with poverty. And there's so many things taking from that we just, holy cow, take for granted. Do you feel like place-wise, was there anywhere you felt like, man, just the people you just kind of like, they melted you?
Probably in Montenegro, Romeo and his family, like they were so family oriented, and so the European gardens, like where you eat off of your yard, and you everything's family and everything's festivals, and like thousands of years of history.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things that, like, I think Montenegro was an awesome place, to find out what people do in other places.
It was a learning experience, because you had made a comment before we left, hey, we're going to go to Montenegro. And here's a true confession. We went to places that I could not have picked out on a map.
No one can.
Right. Okay. So that makes me feel better about myself.
Yeah.
But you said Montenegro, and I was like, is that is that a country? But when we got there, and this is the power of travel, that you even like Googling and looking, I mean, the history with that place was unreal. Like sitting at the table and, eating with Romeo and his family. And what did he make? He made the brandy that was unbelievable, but could wake you up very quickly in the morning.
Yeah.
But what he gave up, he was in the Navy, and there was that horrible earthquake that killed so many people that I never even knew about, right? The wars and the influence, was it with Russia? Correct me.
Yeah, Russia.
And how much loss they suffered. I'm like, I didn't even know that, but the resiliency of those people, and how many story after story throughout different pockets of the world, that there's so much to gain and lessons to learn and this is why the title of this book is Listening and Learning. We have so much to learn as human beings. And to me, that's not an obligation. That's nothing heavy. To me, that's a beautiful gift if we choose to listen. And for myself, some of the most powerful moments that I had were those human connections with other people, where it was just, let's have a cup of coffee and talk. Tell me about yourself. I was very fortunate for the three of us to be able to experience this, but my husband is extremely supportive of my desire to kind of wander at times and to just kind of go off the beaten track. And we could probably write another whole book about that. But one of the things that I was so fortunate for was to be able to do a bunch of day trips, and one of which was in a refugee camp in Cyprus. And when I tell you, it was one of the most humbling, eye-opening experiences of my life, where you hear stories and you see news clippings and tweets and this, and oh my gosh, this is going on. But to like stand and sit and I'll say break bread and have shared tea with people who are seeking refuge from stories that you can't even wrap your mind around, like where you talk about liberty. I mean, we take so many things for granted. And my hope through this book is giving people a voice, but also kind of allowing us to say, we are more alike than we are dissimilar. Is that the right word?
Yeah, I think
that's the right word.
And another thing that travel really does for you is, now that we're back and we are watching the news or listening to the news or reading the news, and we hear about things going on, like with Turkey and Libya and Lebanon and Israel and Cyprus now. Although we're not hearing too much of that on the American news, but we learned to start to read other news.
Yeah. Which I would encourage.
Yeah, definitely. But there's lots of things going on right there, and we have friends there now.
Yeah.
So it's hard it's hard, but it's good, because we have good friends there.
Yeah, good human beings. And it is so easy to just forget. And I know there's a whole lot going on right now in there's a lot of stuff in the United States. But it's also sometimes, depending where you're listening to this, even I'll say, I know there's people from Australia, the UK, that we can sometimes get in our little bubbles. And I know for myself, traveling allowed that bubble to kind of be popped a little bit. And for whatever reason, you know, I'm actually thinking about when it comes to allowing ourselves to be uncomfortable sometimes. And this is where travel can do that, or talking, engaging in conversation with somebody who's different than yourself, whether that's background, religion, belief system, whatever it is. One of my focuses and desires has been able to like agree to disagree with people. Like, let's just talk. It's not getting angry. It's not yelling. It's not being mean, but just let's sit down and discuss things. I mean, did you feel like you gained a stronger understanding for that when we were away? Or
yeah, especially like with all the Muslim people that we met, and seeing in Dubai, seeing the families, Muslim families enjoying themselves at theme parks and in malls. And that isn't what, you know, necessarily what we're taught to think of Muslims as being in this country, you know, unfortunately. And
I think about one of my favorite experiences ever. I part of me didn't want to leave, was just the hospitality of the Jordanian people, the Bedouins, who are Muslim. And
that was my favorite place.
I like seriously was like, these human beings are just amazing. Like, come and sit and break bread with us, drink tea with us, and just, you know, let's learn from each other. And just the kindness just struck me. And when we were in Dubai, I think when we talk about people that may be different from ourselves, like, and this is actually what I talked about, I think in last week's podcast, was when, you know, the tables flip and you're a minority in a situation. And for some people, you grow up feeling that way all the time. Most of the time, most people kind of are similar belief systems, you know, are Caucasian. And I know when we were, for myself, being away in certain pockets of the world, it made me self-reflect to think, well, I'm the minority. You know, where women wearing burqas, and I mean, where we Dubai, well, Singapore and in Indonesia, Hindi. You know, we were the minority, and just being able to kind of learn and listen and to think the things that we thought we knew that you just don't know, because we think we know what we don't. And it's so crazy. We have these preconceived thoughts that have been put in our heads, and there's so much beauty in the world, and there's some yuck and darkness. But there's so many beautiful people wanting to spread kindness and that want to learn from each other. And that's, I think, one of the biggest lessons I learned from our trip.
Yeah, I agree. You know, you definitely, when you think about the Black Lives Matter movement here, and how, you know, those, how Black people have been made to feel for, you know, various reasons, and, you know, over the past years. And then when you go to another country and you see that you are the minority, and you feel like how you feel during prayers in a Muslim country when the bell's ringing and everybody's on the carpet, and you don't know what to do, and people looking at you, and you're different, and you're American, which in some places that was wonderful. They were very happy we were Americans, and in other places that was not so wonderful. Like the taxi driver in Serbia that said to me, "Don't worry, I survived when you bombed me." Yeah,
that was uncomfortable.
Yeah, very uncomfortable. And I can just, you know, I know I can't feel what people feel when they get pulled over for driving while Black, or whatever, or even the police officer that has to pull over a Black person for whatever reason, and then has to feel that too. You know, that because we have that, I don't know what to call it, that, you know, history of that happening. And so now people are just going to assume it's always going to happen, you know, and those assumptions are what's bad, those assumptions.
And that's where it's like inserting for like what we experienced, just totally drove home the importance of compassion and empathy, and the willingness to just be open to learn, because we don't know everything, and we haven't experienced what someone else, like I haven't experienced what you've experienced, and you haven't, and that goes worldwide. And there's just, I think, beauty in the ability to just kind of live with your eyes more open than maybe they have been in the past.
Right. And to make other people feel comfortable in situations where they,
that's huge.
Yeah, because that when people did that for us, and a lot of people did,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people did, that, that made the huge difference when they made us comfortable in those situations.
Yeah. Well, they were taking our feelings into consideration.
Exactly.
And sometimes it can be easy to get swept up in not thinking about that, not pausing to think, how is this person feeling in my home or in my neighborhood or in this school?
In the grocery store.
In the grocery store, right. I mean, yeah, even think about when we were going to the grocery store or we were like on a bus somewhere and moments of discomfort because we, didn't know the area or we didn't look like everybody and we super stuck out. Those people who really put forth an effort to just give a smile or wave or, are you okay? Goes so far.
Right.
It goes so far.
Or to fill you in on the customs and what you're doing wrong, or and they'll let it slide if you were doing something wrong.
Right. Yeah, we did a lot of things wrong, unintentionally wrong, but yeah, we did.
Yeah.
We didn't know, and I know we really try to read up, but when we did 20 plus countries over the course of 10 months, it's a lot of reading to do, and I know you did a better job,
especially
at that
when
than
some
me.
of those countries have dozens of ethnic groups in those countries.
Yeah. What was your favorite country?
Jordan.
Was it?
Jordan was my favorite.
I want to go back.
The people were nice. I liked the landscape was totally alien. It looked like you were on Mars.
Yeah. And the Bedouin people, if you think about a bucket list in your lifetime in terms of places to go, that was my second time in Jordan. And being able to experience it with you guys was really cool. But like sleeping in the tent in the middle of the desert and it's super chilly at night, waking up to the sun cast over this red, spectacular desert. And I think one of my favorite experiences when we were there was just literally riding in the back of a pickup truck with the wind blowing through our hair and bouncing and laughing and, watching you and Jack and just taking in scenes that were just a picture couldn't do justice.
Yeah, like from Lawrence of Arabia.
It was crazy,
yeah.
Right? I mean, it was super duper crazy. And going around the world isn't for everybody. I absolutely get that. But what I truly believe is for all of us is finding the ways to go out of our comfort zone that allow us to learn, that allow us to stretch, that allow us to grow and see those things that maybe your heart has been really ready to seek out. That might be going to a different state. That might be, going to a different job. Those things, those kind of risk factors, if you will, kind of stretching ourselves in ways that can sometimes be uncomfortable. I know on the surface, so many people had said to us when we both left our very decent, very good paying jobs, 401B or whatever the heck it was, and security, sold our house, and lots of people thought we were nuts. I knew for myself professionally, it was time. It was ready. There was that lack of peace in my heart. And I was also done with, winters. I was struggling with depression during super, super challenged at that time. And so it was timing. And I know for you.
Well, for me, the way the state was changing, all of the things for teachers and administrators, I actually saved money by leaving because we had to start paying our own health care costs. And it was a percentage of your salary. And I wasn't getting raises for years and years because, of all of that things with Chris Christie, and we probably don't talk politics on here. And so all of those things that happened and are still happening in education and in New Jersey. And then, the job just wasn't what it used to be, and it wasn't what I signed up for. And and then we had a little boy, and if we had paid for my health insurance and we had paid for daycare, it would have cost us more money than me working and retiring. So, and now I'm working another job and having much more fun.
Yeah, educating kids and doing good things. But would you say it was worth it?
Oh yeah, definitely do it. Everyone should do that once COVID's over.
COVID.
I can't imagine doing it now.
I actually thought oh my gosh, just thinking about if we were, in Singapore, we were in Montenegro. Oh my gosh. And then there's actually a woman I follow who has been in Bali for like 6 months now. There's a bunch of people.
I wouldn't mind getting
Bali actually would have been super awesome. I love Bali. Nusa Island, shout out. But, kind of driving home some of the pointers with today, life's too short not to have a bucket list, my friends. Come up with a bucket list. Write some things down. What is some few things that you've been desiring to do, even in the midst of COVID? Get that bucket list on. Allow yourself to kind of think about what are some ways that you can grow personally. And are you really allowing yourself to listen? Are you learning from people that are different than you? No matter where you're listening to this, life is about growing. Life is a continual journey. And if we allow ourselves to kind of get stuck in this rut, this plateau, you miss out on so much. And right now, I know, we're summertime. I know a lot of you guys are in book clubs, whether it's virtual with your peeps, on FaceTime, or, you're whatever. You're looking for a read just to fill your cup, get encouraged. If you're looking for something super awesome, I'm biased because I am the author. It's a good read, my friends. It's good.
Very good.
It's good stuff. And, just a reminder about the power of human connection, conversation, and the beauty in kindness. You can find it on Amazon, Conversations for Good, listening and learning from our neighbors around the world. And I'd love you to check it out. Leave me a review if you dig the book, and let me know your thoughts. Would love to hear from you. Today, my friends, and my husband, giving you a shout out, wishing you an abundance of peace, love, and goodness, my friends. If you enjoyed today's episode, there's a lot more encouragement and life-kicking strategies on goodnesschick.com. Have a great day, my friends.